One of the most frustrating things to do right now, from my point of view, is arguing with some of these hardcore Xbox fans that literally, like, are new age Xbox fans that wouldn't care if Microsoft was leaving the console space anyway. They'll talk about things like, who cares? Microsoft's evolving the platform. They want you to play anywhere, blah, blah, blah. And you could tell that these are kind of new age fans because at the end of the day, Microsoft is and has been trying to do that for a very long time, right? Like, they're trying to 100% push the cloud. They're trying to push PC. They're trying to push these other means of playing their platforms. And it hasn't helped them one bit. Right? Let's just be clear. Since 2016, when I canceled the pre-order from Quantum Break and I told Phil Spencer, this is leading Xbox to a path of irrelevance, and probably in a very coming years, you'll stop making Xboxes, you'll start putting your console games on, PlayStation, and you're basically giving up. And look, fast forward a little bit, and that's where we're at right now. Console sales can still be important, they can still be good. And listen, I'm not the biggest Nintendo guy, right? I have a Switch and a Switch 2 and all that stuff, but Nintendo's hardware, the Switch 2, just hit 10.36 million. Now it's the biggest console launch of all time. So people that were always complaining that consoles are dead, they're dead, consoles are dead, I humbly disagree and submit my evidence right here. You know what I mean? Nintendo Switch 2 sold an astonishing 10.36 million units in 6 months, a record-breaking amount that sees the platform continue its run as the biggest console launch ever. And its latest fiscal financial results published today, Nintendo raised its hardware forecast for the year and sponsored the Switch 2 spectacular performance. And it now expects to shift almost 20 million units of its new console before the end of March 2026. To put Switch 2's success into perspective, Microsoft has doubled the launch sales of the Switch 1, which sold 4.7 million units in its first 6 months back in 2017, and is also well ahead of the PlayStation 5's own impressive arrival, which sold 7.8 million units back in November 2020, though it was limited by stock availability. Mario Kart World 2, the Switch's flagship launch game, has now sold almost 10 million units, with 8.1 million units of that total from the console's bundles. So yes, that more than 1 million people paid $80 to buy it separately. Nintendo's second biggest Switch 2 title, Donkey Kong Bonanza, has notched up 3.5 million unit sales since its July debut. Super Mario Party Jamboree Nintendo Switch 2 edition, meanwhile, has sold 1.16 million copies. There's no word today on Pokemon Legends ZA, which launched too recently to be included. However, we already knew that the Pokemon Adventure has sold 5.8 million copies in a week, enough to ensure that it will certainly be one of the console's best sellers in Nintendo's next results. Interestingly enough, sales of Switch 1 game Mario Kart 8 Deluxe continue to remain strong, with another 1.37 million units sold over the last 6 months. The original Nintendo Switch stands now at 154 million units. Meanwhile, it's just 10,000 sales away from overtaking Nintendo's current best-selling device, the Nintendo DS. But can the aging console shift another 6 million units to finally dethrone the best-selling console ever, the PS2? Nintendo says it expects Switch 1 to have reached a lifetime total of 156 million by the end of March 2026, so it'll be close. Now, here's the thing, right? So you have the Switch, approaching 160 million units. You have the Switch 2 doubling what the original Switch did at launch, right? It's doing better than what the PlayStation 5 did, what the PlayStation 4 did, what the PlayStation 2 did. It's doing better than all of these things, right? And then you have Microsoft kind of stuck in this weird world where they're trying to sell you on playing games, like console games, on a phone screen or on a TV with all the lag, or on a tablet, right? It doesn't make sense the way that they're trying to do things, and that's kind of the point that I'm making myself, is that they're kind of doing these things, and it honestly just does not make sense, because we're realistically living in this world where gamers are going to have to understand that what's happening is Microsoft didn't become this amazing chess playing company, right? They're not playing chess while the rest of the world's playing checkers or any of that nonsense, right? You'll have Xbox fanboys try to tell you that, right? But it's 100% not the accurate truth. Microsoft tucked tail and ran is more the moral of this story, right? They really just kind of tucked tail and ran. And here's the more interesting thing. If we go by what even is kind of suggested by roundabout numbers of what the Xbox Series X and S have sold, the Nintendo Switch 2 will outsell lifetime of what the Series X and S have sold in the middle of next year, right? In the middle of next year. In a year's time, the Switch 2 would have outsold the Series X and S. And you can look at many reasons why the Switch 2 would outsell Xbox. Obviously there's the key issue of exclusive games. Yeah, I mean, we can all kind of agree that exclusive games are important. Yet you would have Xbox fans now totally kind of lie and say, oh, well, no, those things aren't important. When of course, we now know that people want to play things that are exclusive. And here's the other thing, right? I know a lot of people will probably dislike what I'm about to say, but it's like, are you stupid? Right? No matter what you have, right? If you're trying to sell somebody something, you got to have something that separates you from the rest of the pack. And if Microsoft can't do that, then please explain to me what benefits I have from having your hardware then. They have not done a good job of explaining that yet. So that's the thing that I would try to make. Okay, you don't want to do exclusives for anybody anymore? Okay, well, what's the benefit I get from owning your console now? That's the question that I want to ask. It has not been answered, right? Phil Spencer will sit there and go around going, well, we want our hardware to sell based on what it can do, blah, blah, blah. Well, what is it? What can it do that I can't get somewhere else? That's a real kind of question there, and there's not really an answer to that, unfortunately. I hope that one day we do get some kind of answer, but I'm not holding my breath. Microsoft literally refuses to answer the question, like, what's the point of an Xbox? And if everything's an Xbox, nothing's an Xbox. Do you not understand that? And, for me anyway, when you see that the Switch is selling well, that the PS5 is selling well, the only one that's not selling well is the Xbox, and people will have you believe that the consoles are on the way out or something, right? Which couldn't be further from the truth. It's clear that there's a lot of people in the world who really just kind of want a plug-and-play experience, and, they want that simplicity and things like that. And from where I'm looking at when it comes to, like, Microsoft, I don't understand their entire thought process behind, what's going on with their video games. How in the world can we be living in a world where, the Xbox doesn't exist? And do people really not care about the idea of exclusives anymore? I find it hard to believe that people really wouldn't care about exclusives. I think that people do still care about exclusives, and we are afraid to say anything, right? It's like, and here's the thing, you had the internet trying to convince you that you were crazy if you wanted exclusive games, and you think I'm lying, but I'm not. So many people are like, exclusives are anti-consumer, they're this, they're that. They're trying to persuade you that they were, but they aren't. It's the same thing with physical media collection. Would you believe it? I saw an article today, and I had to laugh, where it was talking about the carbon footprint of having physical media, right? Who gives a crap? You know what I'm saying? Having your physical media means nobody can come in and take that stuff away from you. So yeah, don't believe the media. I hate to sound like a cynic, but the media is never going to tell you the truth, whether it be the regular media, whether it be gaming media. Influencers are probably not going to tell you the truth. I'm not getting anything from anybody. I could just give my opinions on this stuff, but we're starting to see that people are kind of thinking for themselves now, and that makes a lot of sense. Microsoft is trying to tell you consoles are dying out, and that exclusives aren't important, but we're seeing exclusives sell this platform, this console, and Sony's console is still selling, and the exclusives are. So, who's lying there? The company that's been on record lying quite a bit over the last 18 months, or the company that is selling, you know, tons of games based on exclusives and consoles. So let me know. I'll link this. I'm curious to hear what everybody thinks in the comments. Rack 'em up. Crap Gamer out.